Jamie Nunn.
Joined. 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 Joined.
Alex Johnson.
Joined.
Fatima Zakar.
Joined.
Fatima Zakar.
Left. Joined. 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 Joined.
Good evening, everyone. I'll start with the land acknowledgement. The Hamilton-Wentworth District School Board acknowledges our presence on ancestral Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee Confederacy land as determined by the Dish with One Spoon Treaty. The Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt represents the treaty relationship between the Haudenosaunee
Joined.
Confederacy and Anishinaabe with respect to sharing the land and resources thereon. The intent of this agreement is for all nations sharing this territory to do so responsibly, respectfully, and sustainably in perpetuity. We respect the long-standing relationships with the local Indigenous communities, the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, and the Six Nations of the Grand River. At this time, I'll ask everyone to stand for the singing of O Canada.
Joined.
Thank you and welcome everyone. Tonight, I'll just share who's present in the room, and I will do a roll call to determine who we have on the phone. Myself, Trustee Danko, and Trustee Galindo are here in the room. We also have our Director, Figueredo, Associate Directors, Sovereign and Zucker, and Trustee Officer Heather Miller in the room. On the phone, I'll go through roll call. Trustee Archer?
Present.
Thank you. Trustee Buck?
Present.
Thank you. Trustee Johnstone?
Joined.
Present.
Thank you. Trustee Miller?
Present. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Pakin-Miller?
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you. Trustee Mulholland? I realize I'm out of alphabetical order.
Joined.
Sorry, Trustee Mulholland?
Present.
Thank you. Trustee Tutt?
Present.
Thank you. Our student trustees, Student Trustee Hessler?
Present.
Thank you. Student Trustee Sega Wanagalverdot Segi? Okay. Student Trustee Zakar?
Present.
Thank you. We have received regrets from Trustee Bingham and Trustee Deeth, and I believe Trustee Segi isn't able to join us tonight. As we get started, and as it is the start of a new year, and I welcome you back to our first board meeting of 2021, I'd like to just review our remote meeting norms, recognizing we have additional challenges when we have some of us here in person and many people that are participating remote. I also want to thank everyone who is participating remotely as we are in lockdown and doing our part to minimize the mobilization of people in the community. First, please ensure you're on mute unless you are called on to speak to help with our audio quality. Please direct all comments or questions through the chair so I can direct them to the appropriate person. For any report with an action item, I will go through the formal roll call to see if there are questions. If it is a monitoring report, I will open the floor to questions and ask you to unmute yourself to signal you would like to speak. Then I will call on you to speak in whichever order that
Joined.
happens. To move an item, I will select a mover and a seconder as needed. If you are not okay with moving it or seconding an item that I have called on you to do, please unmute yourself and state this. For voting, I will go to a negative vote and only ask who is opposed. If you are opposed to a motion, please ensure you unmute yourself and state this. And as we embark on this next year and engage in respectful dialogue and debate, I want to acknowledge that we all have different perspectives and experiences, and we have the additional challenge that we can't see each other visually as we participate partly in person and partly in remote. So I'd like to remind everyone that all trustees have the duty and the responsibility to participate in an open and respectful debate of issues. And please note that in addition to myself as the chair, each trustee also has the opportunity and the responsibility to raise a point of order in response to any statement or action that they perceive to be inappropriate as per our code of conduct or our equity policy. And to do that, you can actually interrupt the debate to call a point of order, and I will help navigate that as chair if it is needed. At this time, we will go to the agenda. I will open this up to see if there are any amendments from the floor to the agenda, but I do have a request to add a chair's update following our oral reports, but before we adjourn our main meeting. So are there any other amendments to the agenda? Hearing none. So if I could have a mover, Trustee Galindo, thank you, seconded by Trustee Pakin-Miller, to the agenda with the additional chair's update following oral reports. Is anyone opposed? Hearing none, the agenda as amended is approved. Item 4, declarations of conflict of interest. I haven't received any in writing. Does anyone have a conflict of interest to declare for this meeting? Hearing none, item 5 is our confirmation of the minutes from December 7th and December 14th, 2020. I'll give people a moment to turn to those pages. And if you have any corrections, please unmute yourself and let me know you would like to speak. Okay, hearing none. We'll move on to item 6, And this is reports from trustee special committees. Item 6 is our finance and facilities report from December 17th, 2020. Trustee Johnstone, would you like to bring the report?
Yes, thank you. And through the chair, looking at the report from December 17th, trustees will notice action item A, development of budget priorities to guide the 2021-22 budget development. Staff presented a report. In the past number of years, the board has approved budget priorities to assist in the development of next year's budget, and often the board has done public consultations to affirm the budget priorities. Committee members thought it would be beneficial to engage the public and seek their input on what the priorities of the board should focus their resources on. The motion of Trustee Danko to the Finance and Facilities Committee recommends that staff be directed to engage in the public consultation process for the development of the budget priorities to guide the development of the 2021-22 budget. So that is the action item. Moving below, trustees will see 3 monitoring items. The first monitoring item was the capital priorities construction update. So the committee did review the list of capital projects that were currently underway. I'll just kind of highlight some of the, more recent builds, including Nora Francis Henderson Secondary School, Spring Valley Elementary School, Greensville Elementary School, and South Meadow Elementary School, as well as the sports fields that are currently in progress. Item C, enrollment summary from October 31st, 2020. Staff presented the report and explained the importance of enrollment numbers and how they are used to determine the grant revenue based on ministry benchmarks. There are 2 dates that are used by the ministry to calculate our grants, October 31st and March 31st. Enrollment data was presented on the school-by-school basis. Due to COVID-19 pandemic, there have been a significant reduction in the elementary enrollment, and this has had a significant impact with reduced revenue for the 2020-2021 budget. Secondary enrollment has also declined from the budget. However, the impact on the budget should be minimal. Item D, 2020-2021 funding update. On November 26, 2020, the ministry announced that it would be providing GSN stabilization funding to boards to help fund the difference in enrollment projections and actuals. For HWDSB, this will be approximately $14 million. This will help to reduce the previously reported in-year deficit. Also on November 26th, the ministry announced that additional funding would be available to boards in COVID-19 identified red zones for specific purposes. HWDSB has a COVID spending plan in place, and the additional funding will allow the plan to be funded completely in the areas of technology, additional occasional staff, ventilation, and health and safety training. Staff will report back regularly to trustees on how this funding is to be utilized. And that completes my report. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Trustee Johnstone. I'll have Trustee Tutt second the report, if that's okay. Are there any questions to the report? Noting this has an action item, so I will go through roll call. Just starting in the room this time. Any questions in the room? No, and I'll go in reverse order, starting with Trustee Tutt on the line. So Trustee Tutt, any questions?
No questions, thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Paikin-Miller?
No questions, thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Mulholland?
No questions.
Thank you. Trustee Miller?
No questions, thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Buck?
Yes, actually, I do have a question. I was wondering about the action item A, if staff would be able to provide us a projected timeline for the public consultation process. When is it that they would anticipate being able to bring that back to Finance and Facilities? And do they expect any delays due to the COVID-19 and the restrictions related to that?
Thank you. I'll direct that through the director to Associate Director Zucker.
Thank you, and through the chair. So this Thursday at Finance and Facilities, we will be bringing the priorities to trustees for approval to go out for consultation. Once they are approved at the January 25th board meeting, the intention would be for the survey to be released the next day on January 26th, closing 30 days later on February 25th, coming to Finance and Facilities for final approval on March 11th. So this is consistent with prior years' consultation time periods, and we do not expect any delays as a result of COVID.
Thank you. Trustee Buck, any follow-up?
That is wonderful to hear. Thank you so much.
Trustee Buck?
She said, thank you so much, no follow-up.
Thank you. Trustee Archer?
No, Becky asked my question. Thank you.
Thank you. Student Trustee Zakar?
No questions.
Thank you. And Student Trustee Hessler?
No questions. Thank you.
Thank you. So to approval of the Finance and Facilities Committee report from December 17th, is anyone opposed? Hearing none, the report is approved. Thank you. Moving along to item number 7, reports from Legislated Committees. Our Special Education Advisory Committee from December the 8th. Now, Trustee Deeth is not with us this evening. Trustee Johnstone, would you mind bringing forward that report?
Yes, I was prepared to do so. So bringing, through you, Madam Chair, bringing forward the report of SIAC from December 8th. This was a very informative meeting. We were joined by Chris Pickersgill, manager of COVID School Health Program from our public health here in Hamilton, as well as we had a presentation with Matthew Kwan, manager of COVID response for HWDSB. So the two of them answered questions from both SIAC as well as from PIC, and it was a very informative meeting. There was also members updates from myself, trustee, as well as Trustee Deeth, and that completes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Johnstone. So moving to receive the report, and I'll have that seconded by Trustee Archer. Are there any questions or comments to the report? I'll just open the floor up. If you'd like to ask a question or provide a comment, please unmute yourself and let me know you'd like to speak. Okay, hearing and seeing none. Is anyone opposed to receiving the Special Education Advisory Committee report? Okay, hearing no one, the report is received. Thank you. Moving on to our Community Advisory Committees, we have our Human Rights and Equity Advisory Committee report from December the 10th. Trustee Miller, would you like to bring forward the report?
Yes, and thank you. And through the chair, the Human Rights and Equity Advisory Committee met December 10th. There was an update from staff regarding the termination of the police liaison program that happened last June. Staff shared that there is currently a working group being established, which will include approximately 12 members. 6 members are to be from the Human Rights and Equity Committee, as well as 6 from the First Nations Métis Inuit Advisory Committee. This working group will provide advice and alternative supports and interventions. So that should be providing feedback to staff, and they're anticipating the working group to begin meeting in January 2021. The discussion, I believe there was, much interest there, so that should be started quite soon, as well as there is also an update from staff regarding the student census that will be rolling out later this year, and the Human Rights and Equity Committee will also be one of the advisory committees consulted through that process as well. Members agreed to put that item on their January meeting, which I believe is going to be this Thursday. If anybody would like to see the notes from that. Otherwise, that completes the report, and back to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. So Trustee Miller moving to receive the report, seconded by Trustee Buck. Does anyone have any questions or comments to the report? Again, I'll ask you to just unmute yourself and signal if you would like to speak. Seeing and hearing none, is anyone opposed to receiving the Human Rights and Equity report? Hearing none, that is received. Thank you. For item 9, we have appointment to a Community Advisory Committee. For the Human Rights and Equity Advisory Committee, we are seeking one additional trustee member as there was a work conflict with the schedule. This advisory committee does meet on Thursdays, the second Thursday of the month, typically from 4 to 6 p.m. And we do have our minimum trustee membership requirement met, but if any trustees are interested in putting their name forward at this time, there is a spot open. So I will go through I will open the floor, and if you are interested in putting your name forward as a self-nomination, please unmute yourself and let me know. Okay, and are there any nominations for trustee membership for the Human Rights and Equity Advisory Committee? And I'll ask that again. Are there any nominations for the trustee membership for the Human Rights and Equity Advisory Committee?
Trustee Johnstone?
Trustee Johnstone, you're interested in self-nominating or nominating someone else?
I'm interested in nominating myself. I just wanted to wait to hear if there was anyone else that wanted to put their names forward. But I will gladly join the committee and would be looking to do it. I'm glad to join the committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Johnstone. And one more time, is anyone else interested in trustee membership for the Human Rights and Equity Advisory Committee? Okay, seeing and hearing none, we have one spot and one trustee who has put their name forward. So so we do not need a seconder for this, but to the motion to add Trustee Johnstone as a trustee member of the Human Rights and Equity Advisory Committee, is anyone opposed? Hearing none, welcome to the committee, Trustee Johnstone. Thank you very much for putting your name forward. Next, we have item 10, report from Committee of the Whole private session held earlier this evening. I'll turn to our Vice Chair, Galindo, to bring forward the report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through the Chair, I am bringing forward the report of the private session of Committee of the Whole held earlier this evening. The recommendation being that the Finance and Facilities Committee report from December 17th, 2020 be approved, including declaring Mountain View property surplus to the board's needs and engaging in phase 1 of the property disposition process. Thank you.
Thank you for moving the report, Vice Chair Galindo. I'll ask Trustee Miller to second the report. Are there any comments or questions from trustees? Hearing none, is anyone opposed to approving the report? Hearing none, we'll move on to item number 11, oral reports from liaison committees. So for item A, the City School Board Liaison Committee, we have not met and there are no meetings scheduled at this time. Item B is the Hamilton-Wentworth Home and School Association. Trustee Galindo?
Thank you, Madam Chair. There is no update for this month. Their monthly meeting has been pushed to February 11th. Back to you.
Thank you. Any questions regarding the Home and School Association update? Hearing none. Item C is the Hamilton Foundation for Student Success. Trustee Buck, do you have any updates?
So I do. The Foundation Board of Directors has not yet met since the last update provided. We will be meeting at the start of February. But I do have two brief reminders. The first is the Showcase of Hearts. So you've probably seen this advertised, but the Foundation will be hosting its Showcase of Hearts event on February 4th. The event will raise funds for HWDSB students while celebrating their artistic achievements. Beginning at 6:30 p.m., guests will enjoy both live and pre-recorded material in an upbeat, fun, and reimagined experience with real-time engagements and interactions. Our students' hard work and perseverance over the last year will be recognized through a showcase of their many abilities. With concerts, recitals, and events put on hold, this is their chance to shine. A variety of ticket options allows attendees to create their own Showcase of Hearts experience. Enhance your viewing party by enjoying a dinner and personalized wood gift box full of locally sourced products and creative pieces designed by students. There is also the opportunity to participate in a few fundraising activities, including a silent auction featuring a wide variety of items. I hope that my colleagues around the table will join, as well as those who are hearing my plea this evening, to support HWDSB students by virtually attending on February 4th. Showcase of Hearts tickets and additional information can be found by visiting the Foundation's website, and I'll just give that to you so you can look it up when you have a free moment, www.hamiltonfoundationforstudentsuccess.com. The other reminder is just that the Foundation is seeking 2 community at-large members for its Board of Directors. The deadline for submission of a nomination application is January 15th of this month. More information and the online application can be found on the Foundation's website. So with that, that is the end of my update.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Trustee Buck about the Hamilton Foundation for Student Success? I'll open the floor for trustees. Hearing none, we all hope to virtually see you. I'm not sure what that will look like on February 4th, if you can make the Showcase of Hearts. Item D is the Ontario Public School Boards Association oral report. Trustee Johnstone?
Thank you, Chair Danko. Bringing forward the report from OPSPA, I'll start by stating kind of a recap. So on December 26th, there was a province-wide shutdown, and followed by a further announcement on January 7th. In summary of the 2 announcements from the government, elementary and secondary students will study virtually until January 11th in Northern Ontario and until January 25th in Southern Ontario. Cases of COVID in public schools have not been reported for 2 weeks as of this past Friday due to virtual learning. Reporting resumed today for Northern Ontario only. To date, there has been 87,000 and some doses of COVID-19 vaccine administered, and just over 4,000 vaccines, so 2 doses completed. Phase 1 plan includes all residents, healthcare workers, essential caregivers in long-term care homes in priority regions, and those priority regions include Toronto, Peel, York, Windsor, Essex. On Wednesday, the government announced a new pilot rapid testing program for international travelers in partnership with the Toronto Pearson International Airport. Tests are voluntary. There was also announcements on January 2nd, including a letter from Minister Lecce to parents that was posted on the minister's website. On December 23rd, there was a communication from Deputy Minister Nancy Naylor with regards to supports for special education services. 2 regulations were recently filed. This allows Ontario College of Teachers to issue temporary certificates to students in semesters 3 and 4 in their second year on a limited emergency measure. The intent of this is to try and support those regions who do not currently have enough teachers in order to run schools either virtually or in person. For the 2021-2022 grants for student needs, in December, information was shared that the budget will include items such as the COVID-19 outbreak response. There is also Ontario Learning Adjustment Parents and Partnerships Fund, reducing administrative burden in red tape funds, school board administrative and governance grant, managing information for student achievement, and census data and secondary class size compliance funding. So those were all announced. With regards to student trustee elections, for those who normally serve 1 year, normally those elections would occur the last day of February, but due to the lockdown and school closures, that date has now been extended to April 30th, and this actually aligns with those student trustees who serve 2-year terms. Student Transportation Advisory Group. The Student Transportation Advisory Group with OPSBA met on Monday, January 11th. This group includes representatives from school board associations and school bus stakeholder groups, and they have been reviewing the funding formula for transportation, the consortium model, in operations and procurement. And so that included OPSBA Director Rusty Hicks as well as President Kathy Abraham. Just a friendly reminder to everyone that OPSBA Public Education Symposium is continuing this year virtually from January 28th from 10 a.m. Until 3:15 p.m., as well as if you go onto the website, you can see the evening social as well as all of the opportunities to participate in the MPES and the Public Education Symposium. And that completes my OPSBA report. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Johnstone. Thank you for the detailed report. I'll turn to trustees. Are there questions or comments to the oral report for OPSBA? I'll just note that we have been invited to provide feedback on the 2021-2022 GSN budget. So trustees certainly are welcome to review the information that's been sent by email and can provide feedback. And also just want to appreciate the updates on the legislation and the information that's come to families. So thank you, Trustee Johnstone, for that. Okay, at this time we'll move along to the amended item that I added, that we, thank you, agreed to add to the agenda, which is the chair's update. And so I won't repeat what's already been shared by Trustee Johnstone, but I do want to acknowledge that we all know education systems in Ontario and here at HWDSB, we have faced some significant challenges as we've gone through the last couple of weeks. And I wanted to do just a quick review of what our families, what our staff, what our board has faced in terms of changes over the past couple of weeks. So we'll think back to just before the holiday. On December 17th, the ministry signaled that there may be some changes for January and told people to prepare and bring items home. At this time, we had school staff preparing. They were collecting and cleaning devices in Learning Commons just in case we needed to deploy them for remote learning. On December 21st, after our break had started, there was an announcement that students would actually return in January in remote. And so over the break, I want to say a great thank you to our communications team who worked a significant number of hours to make sure that clear messaging got out to our families and to our staff, as this created a great deal of uncertainty and anxiety in our community. I also need to say a thank you to our IT staff, our custodians, our principals, vice principals, managers, supervisors, our officers, and leaders in our service departments who were in to package and redistribute devices and prepare them for students over the holidays. There was 2 days where many of our staff were in working on this. We also had teacher consultants that were preparing packages for families who couldn't access remote learning, in particular in kindergarten, so that they were ready to be picked up or emailed out to families on January the 4th. So thank you to all of the staff and for your dedication and for your work over the holidays. Now, I know that teachers and all of our educators were also thinking about what that remote week was going to look like when we came back on January 4th. We did provide a transition day where families could pick up devices where they identified they needed one. And I want to share that we shared about 6,000 devices through this effort, and that's in addition to the 19,000 devices approximately that, or 19,000 devices that are already out there that we've distributed to families. The transition day was also used to connect with students, and I know that teachers were working and educators were working ahead of schedule on that because I know many families received early schedules even on Sunday evening before January 4th.
Joined.
Educators also used time to plan and prepare, and our program division worked to ensure there was training that was offered, and there was a number of different options our staff could take advantage of. We also had in-person support and instruction for our special education students starting on January the 4th, our students with the most pervasive needs. And we had a number of teachers, EAs, and other school staff that were in our buildings. And again, in a time where we are being told to stay home and that we all need to do our part, and this is a difficult time. We've seen the highest COVID numbers than we've ever seen. A big thank you to the staff who are our frontline workers right now that are in schools through a challenging time to support our students with great needs. So we did get through the most of this the first week last week, and I have to share that we received a lot of positive feedback from families. We received emails, phone calls. I know trustees have shared this with me, thanking our dedicated educators and our staff for all the work that happened to make this past week in remote as positive as it could be for students and families. And that's not to say that it was perfect, but everybody really worked to make this a positive experience. Then on January 7th, on Thursday, we heard the announcement that remote learning for elementary students was going to be extended to January 22nd, in part because of the increase in COVID numbers, but also due to the positivity rates in youth that were increasing and surprising. So during the next 2 weeks, our elementary students will be in remote learning. We will continue in-person learning for specific students in special education. And of course, our secondary students were in remote until January 22nd, regardless. We did also receive an update on the 8th regarding emergency childcare eligibility, which is welcomed, where staff in our sector that are needed to be in schools to work with students directly actually are now eligible for emergency childcare for school-age students. So that certainly is a welcome update, but a lot of this information is changing day by day. And again, I want to acknowledge the uncertainty and the anxiety and the challenges that this presents to our staff, but also to families. Because we've also heard from families that when schools are closed, some families are really struggling. They're struggling because they need to leave the home to go and work to make an income. And they're trying to balance that with needing to support their child with education. And again, a thank you to families for doing everything you can, but we also recognize that we need to be flexible, and this may not be a normal school day for every child in our system. We're doing everything we can to make sure we're reaching out to families in ways that meet their needs. But at this time, I just want to acknowledge the upheaval that's happened, the uncertainty that's happening, and as trustees, I was hoping to suggest that we send a letter to the ministry, to the government of Ontario, and we can even include the federal government because there's a few things that I would like to recommend that we advocate for. And I'm just going to bring that up. I apologize, I have it in writing. I did send this out to trustees so that you'd have it in writing to make this easier. But the things that I believe we should consider advocating for, and I want to understand the will of the board here, is one, pandemic pay for the EAs and teachers who have and who are providing in-person instruction to our students with special needs through this period from January 4th until the 22nd or until schools return to in-person, recognizing that this is a higher risk profile situation where some of these students are not able to wear masks or not able to understand physical distancing. And there's a reason they're in person and needing extra supports. And so that risk is real, just like frontline providers that have received pandemic pay in the past. Also, that educators who are working with our special education students in person be prioritized for vaccination as soon as possible, noting, of course, that is a personal choice to receive the vaccine, and to prioritize the education system, all staff, to be moved up the list if possible for priorities for vaccines. I think I would like to see trustees advocate through a letter for additional supports for working families who are struggling between earning and income and supporting children at home with remote learning through a grant funding like the CERB that we saw in the spring and summer. And I believe at this time, we need to advocate for clear and timely decisions and communication around the model of learning beyond January 22nd so that family, staff, and boards can be prepared. Because while I respect that data is continually being examined and it's emerging, there are trends that can be followed, and we need decisions in a timely manner to allow everybody to be able to do their best to navigate this difficult time. So I will open it up to trustees. Again, a thank you to all of our dedicated staff, to all of our families, to our community for doing your part. If I can put on the floor, just open up to questions or comments to see if there's support to send a letter to the ministry and even the federal government, because they can support grant funding for our families. I'll maybe go through the roll call to see if there are comments or questions. I'll start in the room. Trustee Galindo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do want to echo the comments that you made. I certainly support everything that you mentioned. I also support writing a letter to the ministry, pending what my colleagues say. If no one else brings it to the floor, I'd be happy to support that.
Thank you. And we don't need an official motion, but if you're interested in making a motion, that would be great to formalize it. Going through roll call on the phone, I'll start with Trustee Archer. Any comments or questions?
I support everything that you've said. I think both letters need to be written. As a former support worker, it's very important that staff is supported.
Thank you, Trustee Archer. Trustee Buck?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I do just have a comment. I love all of these items that you got listed here and completely support, but I just want to highlight the one, your last point about clear and timely decisions and communications. It has been a struggle for the last, we're almost on 3 years. I'm forgetting the timeline. Anyways, it has been a struggle to receive news after the media has in a lot of regards. And so continue to advocate for timely communication with board, senior staff, so that they can make appropriate arrangements and we are not finding out things as
Sorry, Trustee Buck, I think we lost your audio. Can you just check that you're not on mute? I think I can summarize what I believe you were saying is boards need to hear before the media so we can be prepared to, I'm sure, respond, but also to prepare to do what we need to do to operationalize any new directions. If you're able to unmute yourself, go ahead. Okay, I can come back to you, Trustee Buck, if you needed to. You can also text myself or Trustee Officer Miller if you need to signal that. Trustee Johnstone, any comments or questions?
Yes, and thank you very much through the chair. I sincerely appreciated the information that you sent out to trustees over the weekend. I do completely support the items that are being raised. I would support, rather than having two single letters, but actually having all three levels of government included on this letter, similar to a letter we wrote in the summer. So that includes the federal government, the provincial government, and also the local municipal government, as I feel that it's important that all four levels the fourth being school board, that we are looking to work together, and specifically that we also copy our locally elected officials at the provincial and federal level. And with regards to supports for families, I do appreciate recommending that there be increased support such as CERB. I would also like to acknowledge that I've had multiple phone calls from families this past week and from business owners who identified that the caretaking and support for students who are learning virtually at this time is largely falling on to women. And in many households, it is women who are the primary income earners. So even when they're going on to EI benefits, it's then marking a substantial decrease in their household income in order to support online learning at this time. And so I'd like to recommend that there be a additional support that acknowledge the gender differences in support for our students and support for, our students during virtual learning, as well as the needs for families to purchase either additional or brand new internet packages or technology. These are all costs. Although our board is doing an excellent job of providing devices with data, many families are feeling compelled to increase their internet plans and whatnot. There does need to be additional support. So I do acknowledge that provincially there is some limited support. I believe it's $200 that's being provided per family, per child by the provincial government, but this simply is not enough. And so to acknowledge that and to acknowledge that just the need for additional mental health supports across the province for students and staff at this time. And then finally, with regards to our frontline staff, that was an excellent request and certainly echoed by many of our frontline workers, the request for additional COVID essential worker pay. Would also like to highlight that we need to have additional, and also I'd like to highlight that I sincerely appreciate the request for additional testing and to include, or not additional testing, but additional vaccinations be provided for school board frontline workers. So I just wanted to echo that those were excellent points. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Johnstone. And I think certainly including the city on the letter as well as our locally elected officials and other boards would be, I think, an appropriate approach, taking some notes about what you've shared. Trustee Miller, do you have any comments or questions?
Hi, thank you. Just want to echo what everyone has said this evening. We have been at this for a very long time. Our staff and our families are exhausted. They have done an incredible job across the board of rising to every single occasion that this pandemic has meant. But people are really, really hurting, and they're tired, and we need to support them in ways in the day-to-day, but also we need to call on our, political governments to support our families and our staff financially. This has meant a huge impact for everyone, and I would wholeheartedly support everything that has been described tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Trustee Mulholland?
No comments.
Thank you. Trustee Paikin-Miller?
Yes, I'm in complete support for this, and I thank you for bringing it forward, Dawn.
Thank you. Trustee Tutt?
Thank you. I just echo and share the comments previously put forward by my colleagues. I wholeheartedly support it. I also think it's extremely timely given we are in January 2021, and I know shortly budget consultations are going to start for the provincial government. So I think we're extending them the courtesy by getting these letters in and early to them, and hopefully they'll be able to take it into consideration as they deliberate and allocate dollars and bring forward their budget, and hopefully they'll be able to find some funds that can support this initiative. So I'll be supporting it. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Tutt. Student Trustee Hessler?
Yes, thank you. And through the chair, I just had a quick comment. I would just like to say that on behalf of all the students in the HWDSB, we are in full support of writing this letter, especially since there has been a very profound impact on students who are especially struggling with the transition back to online, and as well on the behalf of staff as well, just because from a student perspective, it's not uncommon for staff to have to kind of balance between their position as a parent and as well also teaching their lessons to us. So it also has had some impact on the learning that we are receiving. So I feel like this would be extremely helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Student Trustee Hessler. Student Trustee Zakar?
Yes, I think everyone has said it wonderfully tonight. I'm totally in support of writing this letter, and I think Student Trustee Hessler has summed it up that it's also important to students as well.
Thank you. So with a motion, with a motion to write a letter suggested, the details of which I've read out, Trustee Galindo had signaled that he'd be happy to just formalize this as a motion. Trustee Johnstone, would you be okay with seconding that?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. So thanks to everyone for the comments and questions. I've made notes so that we can incorporate that into the letter. So I'll just go to see if anyone's opposed to the motion to send this letter. And I'll just actually check with Trustee Buck if she's able to unmute herself. Did she have anything else to add that I missed? Okay, sorry.
No, I'm so sorry, Trustee Danko. I'm everything that I would have said had been summed up by my colleagues.
Okay, so thank you. So is anyone opposed to the motion? Seeing and hearing none, and I just, the director just signaled in response to the chair's update, he did want to make a comment. Go ahead, Director Figueiredo.
So thank you through the chair acknowledging everyone's work and the efforts. And I do want to also acknowledge Exec Council, who's been helping lead this work. And I know all of them were in schools on the 20th modeling for the system and helping with the deployment of the iPads. And the iPads, some great news. Some have come in today and we have more coming in tomorrow. So to meet the ongoing need. The piece I'd like to respond to is we've all heard the desire of our staff wanting to support in person, but also feeling anxious. So thank you for putting that on the table. Today, I went to visit Mount Albion School with the intention to see how the principal was feeling, caretaking, and the teachers and the EAs. And what I witnessed there today was incredible. I had conversations. I watched a principal manage calls coming in and parents who were picking up packages for their kindergarten students at home. I observed a caretaker who came to say that he was, cleaning. I watched him clean desks as the students went outside for some outside time, and he was washing down the desks. And when I went back in, I spoke to the teacher and the EAs, and they said it's difficult. It's the first time in our sector where schools have been closed that some staff are required to come in. And with the heightened awareness of trying to reduce mobility, stay at home, they're worried about the messaging. But then I saw facility staff respond, and there's a HEPA portable filter in the room. All the PP was in place. I did see 3 students who were wearing masks and 3 students who weren't wearing masks. So I listened to their concerns, and they just wanted to make sure that we are honoring and acknowledging that they are frontline workers, especially during this time. And it's different now than it was in the spring. And we'll continue to listen. And I want to also thank Peggy Blair, Specialized Services Superintendent, who has been working with the ministry and doing her best also to meet the needs of our parents, who it's very challenging when we can't meet the needs of these students remotely. So I want to thank everyone for working together through this difficult time, and I thank the trustees for bringing this forward with this motion, because I know it's a trustee decision, but I really support it because I think it's acknowledging what we're seeing our staff do, especially during this time, the probably would say most difficult time. So through the chair, thank you for letting me provide that update.
Thank you. And I should just note that I mentioned teachers and EAs, but the intent of the motion around getting support for staff was around any frontline staff that need to be in our schools to support that in-person instruction, and that would include caretakers, absolutely, as well, if I didn't mention it. Thank you. So that brings us to the end of our agenda. One thing I was remiss at the beginning was welcoming a new, oh sorry. Yeah, it's I apologize. I'm just going to go back and just make sure to the motion to send the letter, just as we had an additional note from Trustee Buck. Is anyone opposed? Hearing and seeing none, that passes. Thank you, trustees. And one thing I should have done at the beginning, I want to welcome a new superintendent, Estella Jones, to the team. I know that we can't see you in person, but we're excited to work with you. I'm not quite sure where your seat is going to be, but we'll figure that out when we get there. So I know that you're on the line with us tonight, along with many of our other superintendents and managers. So thank you to everyone this evening. At this time, we are looking to adjourn. I'll need a motion to adjourn, and we'll be moving into standing committee. So I'll get, let's see, Trustee Mulholland to move that, Trustee Paikin-Miller to second that. Is anyone opposed to adjourning to standing committee? Seeing and hearing none, this part of our meeting is adjourned. Please stay on the line and we will move into standing committee.
All righty, good evening, everyone. This is Trustee Galindo calling our standing committee for January 11th, 2021 to order. A reminder that the same virtual meeting norms that applied to our previous board meeting will also apply to standing committee. I will be conducting a roll call to begin with. So acknowledging those that are in the room, I have Chair Danko and myself, Vice Chair Galindo. On the phone, I'm going to go through the entire list. Do we have Trustee Archer?
Present.
Trustee Bingham? Trustee Buck?
Present.
Trustee Deeth? Trustee Johnstone?
Present.
Trustee Miller?
Present, thank you.
Trustee Mulholland?
Present.
Trustee Paikin-Miller?
Yes, I'm here.
Trustee Tutt?
Present.
And moving on to our student trustees, Student Trustee Hessler?
Present.
Student Trustee Segi? And Student Trustee Zakar?
Present.
Thank you. So we do have regrets from Trustees Deeth, Bingham, and regrets from Student Trustee Segi. Moving on to item 3, approval of the agenda. I'm going to turn to Trustee Mulholland. Is there any questions or concerns with the agenda? Does anyone vote against approval of the agenda? I will have Trustee Danko second approval of the agenda. So hearing no one opposed, I will be moving to item 4. Are there any declarations of conflict of interest?
Ray Mulholland.
Left.
We'll note that for the minutes. Moving on to item 5, school year calendar 2021-2022. Before I pass that over to staff, I do want to acknowledge the presence of Superintendent Jeff Gillies, who is retiring this month. This will be his final board meeting and final time presenting the school year calendar, which was which has been part of his portfolio for many, many years, and will be passing the torch on to the new Superintendent of Family of Schools 1, Estella Jones. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to our director.
So thank you, through the chair. Thank you for acknowledging, yes, this is Superintendent Jeff Gillies' last standing committee and school year and calendar, and I want to publicly thank him for what is now 5 years of service for HWDSB, and I know he will enjoy this time, this newfound time with his family. So what trustees see in front of them is a recommended action for the school year calendars to be approved for consultation for 2021-22 school year. And I will pass it over to Superintendent Gillies to present the report.
Thank you. Through the chair and on behalf of our director, I'm pleased to bring forward the proposed 2021-22 school year calendar for the board's approval to proceed to public consultation. The draft calendars have been prepared in compliance with Ministry of Education Regulation 304. Regulation 304 requires school boards to provide a minimum of 194 school days from September 1st to June 30th. School days include instructional days, exam days, and PA days. As was the case this year, the school year must begin prior to the Labor Day long weekend to accommodate the 194 required school days. 2 PA days have been placed prior to the Labor Day holiday, September 1st and 2nd, to ensure compliance. This also ensures the board is able to provide professional learning and training prior to the first day of school for students. As in other years, students receive the required 187 instructional days beginning on the Tuesday after Labor Day. School holidays are determined as usual through the ministry and are available publicly through the ministry website. Based on PPM 151, professional activity days include time for required health and safety training and mandatory professional learning dedicated to provincial education priorities. These required training dates have been scheduled for September 1st and 2nd, November 26th, and March 4th. The Ministry of Education reviews PPM 151 regularly and will confirm learning topics based on education priorities closer to the start of the 2021-22 school year. As recommended by the Ministry of Education, professional learning topics for PA days will be addressed in an integrated manner throughout the school year in response to local context and needs. Consultation has taken place with the School Year Calendar Advisory Committee that includes representation from employee groups as well as representatives from the HWDSB Parent Involvement Committee and the Council of Home and School Associations. Date placements of PA days has also been carefully reviewed by Executive Council to ensure timely professional learning to support staff preparedness and comply with ministry requirements. Consultation with the Coterminous Board is ongoing to seek to have PA days align where possible. Further input will be gathered and reported through an online public consultation process supported by the Research and Analytics Department that will allow for public input prior to the final approval by the board and submission to the Ministry of Education by May 1st. Appreciating the collaborative efforts and guidance of the School Year Calendar Advisory Committee and Executive Council, it is recommended that the draft calendars before trustees be approved to proceed to public consultation. And finally, as this is my final board meeting, I'd like to express my sincere thanks to the Board of Trustees for supporting my work at HWDSB over these past 5 years. It truly has been an honor to serve the students, staff, and families of HWDSB, and I'm very grateful for this opportunity. Now, through the chair and director, I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Superintendent Gillies, for the report. I will be going through the roll call, looking at folks in the room first to see if there are any questions. Moving on to folks on the phone. Trustee Tutt, do you have any questions?
None, thank you.
Trustee Bacon-Miller?
No questions, but I would like to thank Jeff personally for all the help he gave me in my first 2 years, and also that I've already been in touch with his replacement, and she's a sweetheart, and I'm looking forward to working with her. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you, Trustee Bacon-Miller. Trustee Mulholland, do you have any questions?
No questions.
Trustee Miller?
No questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Johnstone?
No questions. Thank you.
Moving on to Trustee Buck, do you have any questions?
No questions, thank you.
And Trustee Archer, do you have any questions?
No questions, thank you.
I'm going to go back to Trustee Danko, who does have a question.
Thank you. And through the chair, just one question. I'm noting that the PA Day on March the 4th follows shortly after a holiday on the 21st of February and shortly before March break. And I was wondering if staff, I'm sure you have, but if there's been any consideration for where that might fall, just recognizing that is mandatory provincial education priorities designated for that day. Was there an opportunity to possibly move that to the fall where we have less PA days during the instructional part of the school calendar?
Through the chair to the director.
Yes, I will pass it on to Superintendent Gillies to respond to that, and I'll offer some insights after his response. So thank you.
Thank you through the chair, and thank you for the question, Chair Danko. The March PA Day traditionally has been what we refer to as our mid-year check-in. And it's an opportunity to consolidate learning that has taken place for educators at the start of the year and through the semester. That day actually has been a great opportunity for professional learning, and staff have received positive feedback from educators as that being a timely opportunity to come together and reflect on progress of students through the first semester and plan for the remainder of the school year. That date has also been well received throughout the years through our public consultation process. So at this point in time, we see that as being a valuable part of our professional learning plan. Thank you.
Trustee Danko, any follow-up questions?
No,
Carol Bacon-Miller.
Left.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to our student trustees. Student trustee Zakar, do you have any questions?
No questions.
And student trustee Hessler, any questions?
No questions. Thank you.
Thank you. So I do need a mover for the motion. I'm going to have Trustee Bacon-Miller move that we move forward or receive the recommended action item that we...
Pardon me, I believe she's left.
You're absolutely right, Trustee Miller. I just acknowledged it in my head. So I will get Trustee Miller.
Sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. I'm going to get Trustee Miller to move the recommended action item that the draft 2021-2022 school year calendars be approved for public consultation. And I'm going to get Trustee Archer to second that recommended action item. Is anyone opposed? Hearing no opposition, the motion passes. We are now moving on to item 6, HWDSB and the 2021 Grey Cup update. I'm going to pass this over to the director. Thank you.
So thank you. Through the chair, trustees will see in their package a report I'll be passing over to Associate Director Stacy Zuger to provide a highlight. Just want to flag, as trustees know, Hamilton has been awarded the 2021 Grey Cup, And in our partnership update report in the fall, you saw there was a highlight there around our partnership with the Tiger Cats. And we've been meeting with them for over, I would say about 18 months ago, or once it was awarded, to think about the opportunities for partnership opportunities for our students in our community. And because of the strategic location of Tim Hortons Stadium with our schools, there's also an opportunity for facility partnerships here. However, what's being brought forward for you is a monitoring report for trustees to know. We thought it was timely, and this is all based on the assumption that the pandemic will be something of the past in November, and this coming November, and that the Grey Cup will move forward as scheduled. And of course, there'll be adaptations made that the Tiger Cats have told us if they're in a different reality in November. However, this report is based on the assumption that the pandemic will be over and what the opportunities and implications are for us. So I'll pass it over to Associate Director Zuger to speak about this report this evening.
Thank you, Director, and through the Chair. As the Director mentioned, the Grey Cup is scheduled to be played in Hamilton on November 21st, 2021. And there will be festivities prior to the Grey Cup as well as on the day of. As the Director mentioned, the Grey Cup will provide many opportunities for HWDSB, and there will also be some impacts of the Grey Cup on staff and students. So initially, the Grey Cup, it will build on our current relationship with the Hamilton Tiger Cats, and our Community Engagement Department and Program Division are planning a variety of school-based programs in connection with the Grey Cup. It will also allow for potential student volunteer involvement as well as guided tours of key production areas. So again, we continue to work on this partnership, but this is the basis of it currently. In addition, our community use of school staff are working with the organizing committee to determine the needs during the Grey Cup festivities. It is likely that Bernie Custis, Prince of Wales, and Sir Johnny MacDonald will be used during this time, and staff are working to ensure that proper agreements will be in place. And lastly, there will also be road closures as a result of the construction that has to happen at Tim Hortons Field for the Grey Cup and for the festivities. And the road closures will have an impact and impact access to Prince of Wales and to Bernie Custis. So board staff is working with the organizing committee to ensure the safety of staff and students, and it will be necessary at that time to move to a remote learning environment from Wednesday, November 17th to Monday, November 22nd. So this is just an update right now. There's obviously work that will continue to happen, and we will ensure that staff and students are prepared for this week. But we just wanted to bring an update to trustees right now for their awareness. And I'd be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to go through roll call once again in case trustees have any questions, starting with Trustee Archer. Do you have any questions?
None at this time, thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Buck?
I do have a question. I noted in the package it states that Sir Johnny MacDonald is likely to be one of the facilities utilized. Will this require an investment from our board, or is that something provided by the Grey Cup organizing committee to cover the cost?
So I'll go to the director.
I'll just speak about general question, then pass the Sir John A. to Associate Director Zucker. When we entered this partnership, that was an important question that we want to engage, but that funding from the Ministry of Education dollars are not to be used to support the Grey Cup. And the Hamilton Cats have reassured us that they do get funding when they are awarded a Grey Cup from many sources, including the CFL. So in all cases, there won't be cost to us, but to your specific question around Sir John MacDonald, I'll pass that over to Associate Director Zucker.
Thank you, and through the chair, the trustee Buck is correct in that there may possibly be some costs in order to be incurred in order to make sure that Sir John A. Macdonald is available for use, and those costs will be taken into account when we draft the agreement with the Tiger Cats. So as the director indicated, there will not be a cost to the board for this.
Thank you so much. Trustee Buck, do you have any follow-up questions?
No, thank you. They answered the question perfectly. So much.
Perfect. Thanks so much. Moving on to Trustee Johnstone. Any questions?
I'm good, thank you.
Trustee Miller?
Just one quick question. I know that it's mentioned in the package Bernie Custis and Prince of Wales, as well as potentially Sir John A. Macdonald as possible schools. I'm just maybe a quick comment, actually. I'm hoping that this would mean some really great engagement opportunities for those schools and those communities. But that's kind of just more looking ahead. But otherwise, no questions at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Mulholland, do you have any questions?
No questions.
And Trustee Paikin-Miller, I'm not too sure if you're still on the call. Do you have any questions? Trustee Tutt, any questions from you?
No question, thank you.
Looking at Trustee Danko.
Through the chair, thank you. I just have one comment, and I just want to say that I appreciate the proactive work that's being done through this partnership, and that we've already anticipated some of the challenges that our students would be facing with construction that would be happening relating to the Grey Cup. So even for staff to be planning ahead this far in advance, I just really appreciate the value that there is in working together in a partnership. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Danko. Looking to our student trustees here. Trustee Hessler, do you have any questions?
Thank you, and through the chair, I do have one comment and one question. I'll start with my comment. I think this is a really great opportunity for students, so I'm really excited that this will happen, or at least potentially happen. My question was concerning remote learning for Bernie Custis and the Prince of Wales Elementary School. Since they'll be online from November 17th to November 22nd, will this inhibit in any way their ability to participate in the event itself?
Looking to our director.
So thank you, through the chair. Great question by student trustee. We're still working on all the details, but there will be engagement opportunities for students, especially in this area, but across, we hope, around the city of Hamilton. But we also want to make sure that these engagement opportunities are provided during the day, that we're going to provide flexibility. So a lot is being brainstormed about all the possibilities. So the answer right now is no, we don't want that if someone had to be, doing what we say remote learning. These are experiential learning opportunities for our kids that will be enriching, from we've discussed around community service to project management to food service, and the list of things just go on and on. So, and also around understanding, athletics and the whole notion even of our Bernie Custis School and why we named the school Bernie Custis at the beginning. So a lot being explored right now about all the possibilities. So a long way to say, no, we see this as an enhancement to the remote learning and experiential learning opportunities that could be second to none for our students. So thank you for that question.
Any follow-up questions, Student Trustee Hessler?
No, that answered my question perfectly. That concludes my questions and comments. Thank you.
Sounds good. Student Trustee Zakar, do you have any questions?
No questions.
Thank you. And just adding myself to the speakers list, I do want to echo the comments that Chair Danko made earlier. I do want to extend my many thanks to staff and our community partners, including the Hamilton Tiger Cats, for all the work that they're doing for the success of this partnership. I know that many folks in the community are excited. A lot of kids are looking forward to it. When I think back to my earliest engagements with sport, it was because of community events like this that really inspired me to get involved, not just in sport, but also through community in other ways, like volunteering and stuff like that. So there's educational opportunities there that I'm excited for. I also am reminded of the fact that the late trustee Chris Parkinson was also a huge supporter of this project. It was very close to his heart, and for me, I see this as part of his legacy to the work that he did in the community and as his short term as trustee. So I do just want to echo those comments, and I'm thankful. So thanks so much to everyone. So with that, I'm going to need a mover and a seconder. I'm going to turn to Trustee Johnstone and Trustee Buck to second the motion to receive the report. Is there anyone against? Hearing none, we are now moving on to adjournment. I'm going to get Trustee Tutt to move that, and I'm going to get Trustee Danko to second. Is anyone voting against adjourning standing committee?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes. The chair recognizes Trustee Mulholland.
Yes, I'm sorry I bring this up, but I missed something in the calendar. Could you tell me how many instructional days are in September? Is it 18 or that we passed, or is it only 17?
Just give me one moment here. So I'm gonna make an exemption. I'm gonna pass it over to the director, and I'll get the director to respond to your quick question there, Trustee Mulholland.
So I think the question, Trustee Mulholland, was we're going back to the agenda item. How many instructional days are there in the month of September in the calendar? So when I count from September, for students, that is, from September 7th, which is the first day, to September 31st, I believe there's 18 days that I counted there. The 6th would be the Labor Day, and then 1st and 2nd would be 2 PA days for our staff who would be required to attend these professional activity days. But I just looking at my team, if I got those days right in terms of 18, from September 7th to the 30th for our students.
I got you. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Director.
Perfect. Okay.
Adjourned.
Thank you so much, Trustee Mulholland. So that was Trustee Tutt moving the motion to adjourn, seconded by Trustee Danko. Is anyone opposed? Hearing none. Our meeting is adjourned. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a good night.